We're set to settle out a championship between the final four of Ross Chastain, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, and William Byron here from Phoenix Raceway. 125 laps, and the green flag is out. It's a great launch from Chastain on the inside. Stages 30, 30, 65 for this race here. Now, as they all cut down on that dogleg heading down towards turn one, we're doing a special episode for this one. Now, you'll get the full race instead of just the race highlights to bring it back, because this is likely the final time Jay and I do a race here on NR2003. Currently no plans to bring back this series following into next season for 2024. And Jay, immediately, Hamlin's going to slip in between Chastain and those final four competitors there on the exit of turn four.
It was not a great launch for Chase Elliott. Lost a couple of positions. Now has Larson, his teammate, to the inside of him. And Elliott still trying to fight back on the outside. Way further back here in the field is our fourth championship competitor, William Byron, on the inside of 3 wide. As these guys are all being super aggressive. And Byron maybe had to check up a little bit getting back onto the track. That'll lose him some more momentum and spots.
And he's going to get it sorted. He's up the inside of his teammate of Alex Bowman right there. 3 wide in front. Kevin Harvick in the middle of that. He, of course, in his final ever race in the Cup Series. So good when it comes to Phoenix Raceway in real life. Was, on track to win that race this season until some late race yellows there changed everything around. Larson up the track there through 1 and 2. Elliott right in front of him, but Chastain out to an early lead here from Phoenix, and a decent gap it is. And Jay Byron, he's just got to take these opening laps early. It's a lot of racing, 125 laps. He just needs to slowly navigate his way through this field.
He is once again 3 wide, and there's been 3 wide around him pretty much the entire race. Maybe a tiny bit of contact with his teammate of Bowman right there for just a split second, but Byron has had a lot of things happening around him in the opening stanza of this race, Gary, and you are not going to want to push it this hard, this far back in the pack already. Byron knows there's a long way to go in this race. All he has to do is beat those 3 other championship 4 contenders, but at this rate, with Chastain, Chastain, Elliott, and Larson all up in the front, you might have to win this race.
And, of course, William Byron made the Final Four last season in our NR 2003 series. But what we saw then, Kevin Harvick won the championship, but he was the only Final Four driver that finished. All other 3 wrecked out of that race, and it was Truex wrecked himself when he turned Bubba Wallace and caused a big crash. And then Logano hit the blowing up 24, and obviously that took them all out of it. So, Jay, we saw pure chaos break out last year in this Final Four race. Very different kind of feel, different class of drivers here this season. It's all Chevrolets, 3 of them Hendrick cars, maybe a little bit more of a nice Final Four with 3 teammates, of course, going at it.
And over the course of our 3 seasons of doing this, Gary, we've also had some pretty crazy, pretty wild races here at Phoenix Raceway as well. Especially on the restarts, you see 3, 4, 5 wide at times. We have seen wacky things happen. I think it was last year where Cindric got into the pit wall, or maybe it was earlier this year, and it ended the race. I think that was this year. It gave Keselowski to win. So yeah, Cindric got into the pit wall trying to come in for his last pit stop, got stuck in it, and that ended the race. So we have seen some crazy things happen here at Phoenix before, but so far very confident his first 7 laps.
Elliott side by side with Denny Hamlin looking for second place. He wants to go get after it. It was a really interesting season for this 9 car, and Jay and I talked about it in Martinsville, and we almost consider this 9 car an underdog. He may have won the regular season championship, but he's only won 1 race this season. That was back in Pocono, and he really has had a lackluster playoff. He's really just done enough to get into this Final Four. But Jay, I mean, no better way to cap off a season by going out and just winning here in Phoenix, which is what that 9 car is looking to do. Is he's starting to make some headway and closing in on this number 1.
You and I say underdog, though, Gary. I'm not really sure if there really is a way to say somebody is an underdog coming into just a 1-race championship. If this were a 3-race round, I would say, sure, maybe somebody had a disadvantage with performance, but all you got to do is just have your car tuned up, whether legally or not, for 1 race. So we'll see if Chase Elliott is able to continue the speed that he has right now. Right now, staying behind Ross Chastain, was able to get around Denny Hamlin after losing that spot to him earlier. So obviously some definite speed in that 9 car and of course in the 1 car as well.
And you do have to wonder, Jay, one day, as it's pretty evident NASCAR is not going to move away from the playoff format, it seems like, and you have to wonder if they're ever going to consider changing the Final Four to a 3-race round instead, to kind of get a more legitimate championship out of the playoffs. Because as well, I mean, when you come down to just 1 track, we've seen it. Certain manufacturers, certain teams struggle at certain types of tracks, so it almost makes it an unfair advantage depending on the track that they go to.
I'm not sure we would ever see it change to a 3-race round, simply because NASCAR would either have to shorten the amount of drivers that get into the playoffs, or lengthen the schedule of the playoffs, or lengthen just the schedule in general. I don't think NASCAR or the teams would want that to happen. So I don't think we'll ever see that happen. But in my personal opinion, my preference would be go back to the old chase style format where you get a 10 race playoff, and the best driver of those 10 races is who becomes champion.
I say they could just take 2 races out of the regular season and make it a 24 race regular season instead, and a 12 race playoff or something. But that's on NASCAR's hands. We'll see what they do there. Byron is hounding the back of this 4 of Kevin Harvick on the exit here of turn 2. Tyler Reddick coming through as well. Up front, Hamlin has stayed right on the rear bumper of that 9 of Chase Elliott. Larson settles in 3rd in the championship 4, 4th in the running order now. But Jay, it looks like he's closing in on the back of this 11, who seems to be fading just a little bit here after these first 10 or so laps.
Yeah, Larson right now is looking like his long run speed is a lot better than Denny Hamlin's. Has caught up to this 11 car. 11 of Hamlin is fading back a little bit from Chase Elliott. And I think the 9 and the 1, they're running pretty much even right now. I've been keeping an eye on that time, and it's changed very minuscule over the past 5 or 6 laps. So the 9 and the 1 look very close together right now. And in the background, Byron now just got passed by Tyler Reddick. He was trying to get past Kevin Harvick, couldn't do it. Reddick sees an opportunity, got past him. So Byron now down another spot outside the top 10. He's in 12th. So some work to do for William Byron, Gary. Of course, only 14 laps in, but 125 laps here at Phoenix. It goes by very quickly. So Byron cannot be content. He has to find his way forward here.
AJ Allmendinger right there in front of Daniel Suarez. Still don't know the future set for him for next season. I heard a rumor Ty Dillon might be going to that car. Imagine if Ty Dillon gets another chance in the Cup Series there after all the success he's had so far in the Cup Series. Just like today, running about 33rd or so as Chastain continues to be out in front. And as well, I mean, as these laps go on so far, Jay, it looks like the 19 and the 22 of Truex and Logano are kind of joining the party, showcasing early on, it's not going to be, cruise control for these Final 4 drivers up front today.
But as we've seen multiple times, Gary, it's quite hard to pass the leader of this race. And,
yes.
And just for a moment right there, Chase Elliott was down on the apron for a moment. Looked like it was a tiny bit slow, but he was okay. He kept the position, but Hamlin did close up on him as Larson and Truex and Logano all close in as well. So a little bit of space now between the 1 and the 9 as he's backing up to the 11 of Hamlin, and Truex is trying a little bit something different on the outside, but it certainly didn't work for him. Now he's under pressure from Logano because of that.
Yeah, that 9 car seems to be fading suddenly now as Hamlin is knocking on the door, and he's got Larson, of course, right on him as Truex and Logano both close up. Last week, Kyle Larson absolutely dominated from Martinsville. I mean, nobody really had anything for him, and we saw a lot of chaos in that Martinsville race. That was interesting. It almost looked like the 11 checked up a little bit early that time, and now, Jay, that 5's right there, maybe with a potential move into turn 1.
I thought Larson was going to send it in there and make a little bit of contact with Hamlin and move him up the track, but instead he got a good launch off of turn number 2 and gets into turn number 3 on the inside of Hamlin. He finally gets his way to the inside of the 11 car as Chase Elliott is caught back up to Chastain once again. Larson goes on the inside of Hamlin. Truex is going to try and follow him through as well, but you can see Hamlin got a really good launch down the back. Larson sends it into 3, though, almost gets close to making contact, but Hamlin closes the door.
Interesting to see this take place so far. Now the inside seems to be the way to go. At the same time, you saw Hamlin get the run on the outside and keep the position. Larson's looking just not quite enough. Chastain up out of the groove a little bit there as Elliott's trying to reel him back in, and we look a little bit further back, and William Byron seems to be settling in now. He's outside of the top 10, running P12 currently, right behind that 45 of Tyler Reddick. But obviously, Jay, we found the number 1 driver of this championship battle that is going to need some adjustments here in the come 10 laps time at the end of this first stage.
Yeah, certainly this 24 car has not gone forward much at all. In fact, he's lost ground now. He's lost time to Reddick and Harvick. He has not lost positions recently, but he has certainly lost a lot of time. So the 24 car not made his way forward as he would have wanted to in this first stage. Of course, there will be a caution at lap 30, so he'll have the opportunity to make adjustments, but the time is going to be quickly running out. As soon as we get through stage 2, we're going to be just about halfway through this race, so Byron's going to really need to have that thing turn around for stage number 2.
And one thing that's going to be different here is Jay and I have never used the mod that we've been using for the double file restarts at Phoenix. So we're going to have double file restarts all day long. Opens the door for some potential chaos. We saw the door get open right there from the 5, the 19 going for it. But it certainly seems like, Jay, these guys, they want to try and attempt to pass to the inside, but it's clearly that outside lane just gets enough of a run, specifically out of turn 2, to keep them ahead so far.
And it's almost like as well, the second that these drivers try and go for a pass, they burn up their stuff a little bit because Larson's fallen off from Hamilton a little bit. And Chase Elliott there for a moment was up on the bumper of Chastain, tried to go for a move in 3. He went down to the apron. Chastain was able to use the high side to his advantage, pulled away a little bit right there. So the 9 car of Chase Elliott can have to try again if he wants to get around Chastain for the lead of this race. I think it's going to be kind of hard to pass that 1 car today. Gary Chastain looks like he's got a really quick car right now.
We have seen in the past, when Chastain gets the lead, it is hard to get it back from him. We see that again. We've seen these 2 specific drivers have a couple battles this season, primarily earlier in the year. Speaking of passes, it's been difficult, but here's Tyler Reddick up the inside right now of Kevin Harvick into turn number 3. Can he get the job done here and maybe bring William Byron with him? Let's see what the outside is capable of on the exit of 4. And just like that again, Jay, the outside seems to prevail everywhere.
And Byron got a little bit of a run himself to the outside of Reddick. He might take the outside into 3 and 4 here. Wow. He might even make a little bit of contact. He got close, and he was able to at least keep his car away from hitting the 45. But you can tell that little bit of a slip-up right there hurt him for a moment, but he still got the momentum down the back. Reddick closes the door a little bit, though, so Byron's still forced to be up on the high side. But that's maybe where he wants to be, Gary. We've seen the runs so far on the outside. If you can stick to the outside quarter panel of the driver to your inside, you can get a really good run on him.
I think we're learning certainly how these passes are going to have to take place very quickly. And here's, well, Logano just passed a 19 on the inside. How about that? Either way, that 22, either really, really strong or Truex is at a really bad corner. But Logano moves through into 5th position here. He, of course, has had a pretty rough season, only 1 win, just like IRL actually now. No, sorry, he got 2 wins. He got that 1 win, I believe, early in the playoffs. But Chastain still out in front with 5 laps to go. And Jay, we see Elliott closing again on that number 1, but like we saw before, he can seem to get to a certain distance and then he just kind of levels off and can't quite get into a position where he can actually make a move.
And Larson's still falling back a little bit as well, losing even more time to the 11 of Hamilton. Now Logano and Truex are right there on the bumper of Kyle Larson. So this 5 car, he had good speed early and about halfway through this run, Gary. But as we're getting towards the end of this run now, he is really starting to fall off a little bit as the 24 of Byron goes for the pass on Reddick as well. So maybe a little bit of last-minute speed from Byron to gain a couple of spots here if he could get one on Reddick and on Harvick as well before this stage ends.
And that's pass complete. That will put Byron back into 11th place now, and Jay mentioned it, Larson definitely fading here in these closing laps. 3 to go in stage number 1. Chastain's led every lap so far. I'll be curious to see how these restarts are going to shake out this season. We have seen the outside prevail quite often with the double file restart mod, so will that be the case here? Will P2 really be the winner when it comes to the restarts? In the background, that's Bell as well as Kyle Busch going at it right there. Bell holding on to P7, and we haven't talked much about Kyle Busch in these playoffs, Jay. Been very, very quiet. Of course, had a lot of issues in, it was the round of 12 that knocked him out, and he had quite a bit of mechanical issues, but here he is having a decent run so far to send off this 2023 season, which was full of up and downs for his new team.
Yeah, unfortunately for Kyle Busch, he found himself in the playoffs, and then once he got there, things just really started to tumble downhill very quickly, especially like you mentioned, the round of 12 with those issues. I think it was either in consecutive races or it was at the very least 2 of those 3 races where he had mechanical issues very early and just could not overcome those issues. So Kyle Busch eliminated early. Not the 2023 season he would have wanted, but certainly something they can build on at RCR to look forward to for the future.
Oh.
Lovely.
So you saw the game crash, which means we had to restart. We take off the laps that we already did and got the positions as close as we could get them, except the top 2 were swapped around. Elliott on the inside, Chastain on the top. Larson's gained a few positions, but Byron still with some work to do. Jay, as they head down towards turn 1, as we, of course, are expecting to see a little bit of chaos here as this race continues on. We're going to see 3-4 lanes, especially when they come back around next time by.
Logano on the outside there just lost a bunch of momentum and now has Harvick to his inside 3 wide, but Keselowski also had a check up on the inside as well, forcing that entire inside line, which Byron is in, to all have their big time moment of checkup, but they get through it, and Truex again is stuck on the outside of 3 wide, and Byron, Gary, he got a little bit of help there with that crash, but still is going to need some help to get himself to the front here and need a lot more speed to get through this traffic in front of him. There's a long way to go for him to get up to the front competitors.
And Truex washes way up the track there on the exit of turn 2. They seem to all get it sorted out. It's now the final 4. first, second, and third, and then William Byron way back here trying to get into the top 10 as they're going to go 3 wide just about again on the exit of 4. Byron now. That puts him into 9th place, his best running position so far. Alex Bowman up here in the mix, but Jay Chastain, unfortunately, because of the game crash, loses a position. Now we're going to find out what that one car is made of. Does he have enough to pass this 9 back as he's now under pressure as well from the number 5?
It is all top 3 positions are championship 4 contenders right now, as Larson's all over the bumper of Chastain. Chastain all over the bumper of Chase Elliott. This one car is not going to let Chase Elliott drive away from him. He wants that lead right back, and obviously the speed is still there for the one of Chastain. Larson able to hang on with him again this time, though. It'll be interesting to watch as well, Gary, this time to see what kind of long run speed these guys have. Before it was Chastain having the best long run speed. Chase Elliott was there for a moment. Larson faded back towards the end of the run, so it'll be interesting to watch to see how those 3 drivers this time exchange it out as the run gets longer.
3 wide here, Eric Almirola in his final full-time Cup Series race in the number 10. Stuart Haas Racing is, losing half their roster at the end of this season. I saw an interesting thing about that, Jay. SHR, all their drivers combined, for next year, that we know of anyways, because we still don't know who's going to be in the 10 car, but they have less wins in that stable than the Front Row Motorsports team.
That is really interesting. I had not seen that fact, but yeah, Stuart Haas next year is going to be interesting as we have a battle for the lead here between Ross Chastain and Chase Elliott. Elliott on the outside this time should get a decent run on the exit of turn number 4, but Chastain, this one car, Gary, you can tell he is super fast.
Yep.
And even got a good run on the inside there, and Chase Elliott to no advantage right now might have to give up the spot to the one of Chastain.
I think that's all I need to see. I think the one car's got this championship locked up unless the other drivers are able to find something. Byron in the background is continuing to make some headway. This is for 7th place on Joey Logano. This stage comes to an end at the conclusion of lap 30 that you see up there now. We were still able to get 30 laps for this stage. Byron clear of the 22, moves up another position. So Jay, that 24, although we didn't actually get to have a pit stop due to the game crash, for lore purposes, clearly they made some good adjustments there on that 24, moving up into P7 and going forward here.
And he's finally passed a lot of that traffic he needed to get around. Now just 3 cars between him and the championship 4 contenders, but there's a lot of track position or a lot of time in between him and those 3 other championship contenders right now. Byron still got a lot of work to do as Blaney up on the outside, losing a lot of momentum right there. This 12 car has been fading recently. We've seen him have some success here on the virtual side of things at Phoenix as well, Gary, but right now there is no speed in that 12 car.
And Ryan Blaney, of course, in the Final 4 in real life this weekend now, as we'll be posting this video on the day of the Championship 4 race in Phoenix. Jay, real quick, who do you think will win the Cup Series Championship today?
I think right now, I think Kyle Larson's got to be the favorite coming into the championship, both on the virtual side of things and real life. The 5 car has just been incredibly good everywhere, and I'm not sure if there's going to be anybody that beats Kyle Larson right now.
I go with the 5 car as well, and main reason is I think it's only maybe one time we have seen late race chaos break out in a Final 4 race, and that was Miami 2016. We haven't really seen it happen in the Cup Series where we get that late race chaos, and it seems like to me when there's not late race chaos, that 5 car is usually the one that wins. Now, Jay, I think if we do see late race chaos, 24, in my opinion, is going to win the championship.
Yeah, I think Byron is certainly going to be somebody to watch out for tomorrow, or today, in the championship race. But Kyle Larson, I mean, that 5 car, it's hard to bet against Kyle Larson right now with how well he has been driving, how well the playoffs have gone for him. A lot of momentum. We've seen the success he's had here at Phoenix specifically. I mean, Larson, I think, has got to be the favorite coming in.
And I got to say, one of the things maybe we have seen that the simulation has gotten wrong is Trackhouse Racing has been so strong here in this series, specifically Chastain, of course, with all the wins he's picked up over the summer, was able to, of course, have a strong playoff run, had the issues in the round of 8, back-to-back races, barely made it into this round, wouldn't have been here if Ryan Blaney didn't knock the wall down in Martinsville. But obviously, Jay, in real life, Trackhouse Racing, I mean, after the first, I really say ever since Darlington, earlier in the year, they really kind of just fell off a cliff.
Yeah, Chastain and Suarez both have not had great seasons this year. And Chastain, like you mentioned specifically, he fallen off a cliff. He had really good speed to start the year. Suarez was struggling to catch up to him. And then they both just started really having bad seasons. Trackhouse has not had the year that they would want it to have. And of course, Chastain no longer in the playoffs. So, look to rebound next year. But the final four, Gary, Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, William Byron, those four drivers right now, I say that Larson is the favorite, but I do think that any one of those four drivers can show up to Phoenix this weekend and absolutely dominate this race. We've seen Blaney have success. Christopher Bell has been on a qualifying tear lately in that 20 car. When they get it right, it is right. So any four of these drivers, Byron with the most wins on the season, I think, or at least tied with the most wins on the season. So any four of these drivers right now with a little bit of legal or non-legal cars can really together a really dominant race.
Now, would you agree that in real life, Final Four may be the most boring Final Four personalities we've ever had?
Yes, I would for sure. Now
I don't think I've heard a single soundbite either.
Were boring. I see that everybody's saying all four of them are boring. I think Blaney is the least boring of the four. He has,
but he's even tuned down a lot compared to a few years back.
The last couple of years, we haven't seen as much of Blaney, but I don't think that means he is as boring as we say that the others are. But the other three, yeah, a little bit boring across the board. This Final Four is probably the most boring Final Four as far as personalities goes. I think that we've ever had.
I think the wildest comment I've ever heard about anybody in the Final Four this weekend out of their mouths is maybe Kyle Larson saying that Denny Hamlin's always right after getting run into the wall of Pocono. I mean, nothing ever comes out of these guys, but they are tremendous race car drivers. And excited to watch them fight for a championship now as Chastain continues to manage his gap. A little over 10 to go in the dominated stage one. Things have really gotten sorted out. I mean, very typical Phoenix right here, Jay. I mean, aside from the restarts, things get sorted out, and then it gets pretty difficult to race after that point.
And it's still just championship drivers, top three positions right now, with Byron trying to make his way forward through the field. He has actually pulled up to the back of Kevin Harvick back there. So the long run speed much better for the 24 this time than it was in stage number one, but still a lot of work to do, Gary. He's got three cars to get through to even have a chance to start running down his other three championship contenders, as the 1, the 9, and the 5 all continue to have basically the same gap between themselves. There's really nobody with an advantage over the other right now.
I mean, they're all within a second of each other. They're running very close, and Byron is on the inside now of Kevin Harvick, looking for that 6th position as they head down towards turn number 1. Is he going to get the job done? I'd say, yeah, he's going to get it done. He's going to slide up in front of him, make sure he can't get the outside. And Jay, that 24, I mean, that's the first pass we've seen from anybody, at least that we've focused on in 10 laps. That 24 has gotten some pace here as this race continues.
He really sits it up the inside of Harvick right there and made that pass work. And Harvick, I think, was a little bit easier on him as well and didn't fight him and let him have that spot. So Byron gets another spot. And now 2 positions between him and the championship 3 in front of him. Larson, actually, Gary, just noticed he's starting to slip back a little bit from the 2 in front of him. Perhaps maybe just had a bad corner there for a moment. But now wait a minute. As the 4 of Harvick slips up the track, I thought the 6 or the 24 were going to the pit lane for a second. But they don't go to the pit lane. Harvick keeps it okay. But anyways, as I was saying, Larson slipping back a little bit from the 2 in front of him.
Yes, and I mean, so far, everybody racing these Final Four drivers nice and respectfully. Thank goodness Caden Honeycutt's not in the field today. We might see a change in that as they come through 1 and 2. Of course, talking about the Truck Series madness that we saw Friday night, maybe the most embarrassing display of NASCAR racing in my whole lifetime. As you can see, Elliott actually has really closed in, Jay, and now less than 0.3 of a second between the two of them. But we've seen this before. Elliott can get there, but he hasn't been able to actually make a move.
Yeah, I'm not sure if anybody right now at this current moment has the speed to get around Ross Chastain. This one car is incredibly fast. I think the long run speed is there for him. Elliott might have a momentary advantage over him, but then Chastain will just close off the lane that he's in, run the high side, whatever he needs to do to keep Elliott from passing him, as Larson still slips back a little bit from these two. He's losing a little bit more time from the 9 to the 1, so this time around, perhaps Larson does not have that very back-end long run speed, almost like he did in stage 1 as well.
In the background there, JGR teammates Bell, Truex side by side. This is for 9th and 10th place. Kyle Busch trying to rebound from the game crash to get some better running position. Same for Denny Hamlin. He was the one that probably took the biggest loss from the game crash. He lost like 20 positions, I think, just about. But these two continue side by side. Is Kyle Busch about to really go for a 3 wide? No, he's going to fade back there. But these two... usually it's a corner or two and it's done, but these two, Jay, continue side by side after a whole lap, and they are not showing any signs of cooling this one down here.
A couple of Joe Gibbs teammates here fighting each other, Gary, and we've seen this 19 and the 20 have these battles before. We We look back to even the 20 and the 11 also having a battle earlier in the year for points to get in the playoffs. And then, of course, Bell missed the playoffs, and then he goes and wins 2 races in the first round. So I'm sure the 20 of Bell, he's probably still unhappy with that, Gary, because he's had a really good playoff run, just unfortunately missed the playoffs to his teammate by 1 point.
And Denny Hamlin, I mean, it looks like it. I can't believe we're going to end this NR2003 season and final season with a Denny Hamlin winless season. I did not expect that after the first 2 seasons we've done. I mean, a 4, 5, 6 win season was the average for Hamlin. And Jay, I mean, Hamlin's not run bad at all. I mean, even though he was the last driver to make the playoffs, we say that. He was like 5th in the standings. It was just because of all the different winners that we had. It was not a bad season for Hamlin by any means. He just could not find victory lane.
We saw Hamlin have so many strong performances, so many times he had really good speed, but like you mentioned, yeah, just could never find himself into victory lane, and always had things go wrong for him at the end of the race, or just sometimes didn't show up and didn't have good speed the entire race. But most of the time, Hamlin was a very strong competitor, just unfortunately never found his way into victory lane. And like you said, really, really surprising to see him end this season without a win after getting, I think, 5 or 6 wins in both of our previous 2 seasons. He had the most wins in both of our previous 2 seasons, and this year he's going to have none.
And these two continuing to battle. Byron got past the 6 of Kozlowski. We got all of Hendrick Motorsports right now running in the top 5, and then, of course, Ross Chastain. But we have the stage break coming up here in a few moments' time, and most importantly, a pit stop on the way, hopefully, for the first time today, assuming the game is not going to crash. Chastain has really been able to manage this gap, and all of a sudden, Jay, that 5 is reeled in the 9 as they head down into turn 3, approaching 2 laps to go on the stage, and that 9 runs about maybe half a car width higher than that 5 as Larson tries to get there with these 2 laps left.
A little bit of the same thing we saw at the end of stage number 1, where right in the last couple of laps, you see the 9 and the 5 start to exchange their very end of the run speed. But of course, Chastain throughout the entirety of this has just stayed consistent, being the one leading and the one pulling away from his competitors. So this one car right now, Gary, a lot of things going right for him. But of course, when the pit stop comes up in a moment, he's going to have to hope his crew showed up just like he did today.
Harvick on the inside of Kozlowski. He'll get the job done there. That'll put him into P6. Byron on this final lap of the stage has climbed his way into the top 5. So a very solid climb through the field today for William Byron. Now it's going to come down to, of course, the pit stop that we have on the way. But Jay, looking like to sweep the first 2 stages is Chastain. I think we have an accident actually on the track as we're ending the stage. As you see the smoke in 3 and 4, so they're going to cross the line, but I think something might have actually happened there. I don't see any cars damaged, but clearly we see the skid marks there. Something definitely happened.
I think it might have been the 43 of Eric Jones. Like his
back
end was pressing a little bit. Yeah, the 43 of Eric Jones has had some kind of issue. So on the final lap of stage number 2, we see problems there for Eric Jones, but our championship 4 already getting into the pit lane, Gary. And how about it? Top 5 all Chevrolet, 4 of those 5 Hendrick drivers. Yeah,
those Hendrick cars are looking extremely strong here today, including Alex Bowman, of course, missed the playoffs, winless on this season. He's only won 1 race in the 3 seasons of us doing this series, but Chastain, Elliott, Larson, Byron are the final 4 order as they head down into their pit boxes. And what can they do? Byron's going to be stopped a little bit further back, so we'll see what he is going to be able to do. But Jay, we've seen Hendrick Motorsports specifically have slow pit stops before. This is going to be a crucial pit stop for all 3 of them in this final 4.
Did the game just crash?
No.
Oh, okay, the stream stopped for me. Oops, that was awkward.
Oh, 3, 2, 1. Byron exits. He's rolling here as we head through the exit of the pit lane. Chastain's going to win the race out. Elliott's slow, very slow on the number 9, and he's going to lose multiple positions. And Jay, we talked about it, slow pit stops for HMS. Well, the 9 car just got one there.
Specifically, Chase Elliott has had the most slow stops of the year, and another one bites him right there in the championship race. Loses multiple positions. Now he is the driver who has to climb his way through the field.
And as we get ready for stage 3, let's take a look at that last lap of stage 2 incident. Down the back straightaway, watch the 43 is going to drive into the back of the 31, turn him into the inside wall, and then that happens right there. Jones gets some damage, and the 31 crashes into the outside wall. This could be the last restart of the day. Chastain, Larson front row, Byron in fourth, Elliott down in seventh after a slow pit stop. What can Larson do on the top? That's what he can do. Half a car length, 3/4 of a car length, and nearly clear as they cross the start-finish line. They're going to fan out, cross the dog leg, cut it down, and Elliott J has to get aggressive, and he's doing exactly that.
Going to force it 3 wide as Chase Elliott on the inside is Lowski, and he makes it work. He sticks it on the inside. Chastain up the inside of Larson as well. Larson had the advantage going into 1 and 2, but then Chastain up the inside was back for a moment. Then Larson got the advantage down the back into 1, and he slips up a little bit, though. A little tiny slide for Larson allows Chastain to get back to the inside again, and the 5 and the 1 are still side by side for the lead.
3 wide in the background, Hamlin. Cindric down the track. They're 4 wide in the back, but we stay focused on the championship fight here. Through 1 and 2, they are really going at it back there. Chastain's going to get the position. It looks like they all get it sorted. Larson J fights back on the top.
Chastain was trying so hard to get in front of Larson and squeeze him, but Larson was able to just barely stay on the quarter panel. Got to run down the back, but this time in 3 and 4, he slips up big time. Now Chastain gets by on the inside, and Chase Elliott with a big move 3 wide with a couple of his teammates. He has been moving since the restart. Gets up to 3rd if he's able to clear Bowman.
Byron fades back. He's 3 wide on the top, 4 wide on the outside as they exit turn number 4. Harvick, Keselowski, Byron, Kyle Busch all right there together. They get it sorted as they head down into turn number 3, but Byron in trouble as he's fading backwards now, and Elliott's right to the back bumper, and Jay, I don't think that 9's waiting around today. He is all over the back of this 5, and he's going to make a move into turn 1 maybe right here.
That bad pit stop lit a fire under Chase Elliott. He has moved his way forward now on the back end of his teammate Larson now on the inside of Larson. Maybe even getting by Larson. He does on the inside. Chase Elliott goes through Larson trying to get the momentum, but it doesn't work enough. Elliott, Gary, this 9 car is on fire.
Larson's not going to make it easy as they exit turn number 4. Byron continuing to struggle. Larson stays even with the 9 as you see Elliott cut down on that dogleg Chastain. I mean, absolutely loves what he sees, and surprisingly, Jay, this 5 car suddenly is able to hold on pretty well. As I say that, though, Elliott nearly clear on the exit of the corner.
That time they both slowed up, but Larson got tagged by his teammate. Again, almost another moment where Larson gets spun down the back, but he saved it. Bowman saved it. They keep it going, and somehow he's able to almost get back to the outside of Chase Elliott again, but now Elliott is clear for second. Gary, he sets his sights on Ross Chastain.
And now, looking back, the 24, what has gone wrong here, down to 9th, about to lose that position to Denny Hamlin, who likes to take it from him on the exit of turn 2. So that 24 going backwards, not what we expected there after the run through the field. They have gone in the wrong direction here. And, I mean, Jay, we look at the lap count, 54 laps of racing to go. Once they cross the stripe, even if it stays green, it's going to be already very difficult for Byron to be able to make up all that track position if the car is going in the right direction, which right now, it is not. He's still under pressure from now Joey Logano.
I believe Byron restarted this stage in 4th place, so he was in a fantastic position to take advantage of some guys struggling with their pit stops, and him getting a few spots at the end of that stage as well. But unfortunately, through the entirety of this restart, he's been stuck on the outside. Not sure if that's the reason why he's lost all these spots, but he has lost a ton of positions, Gary. Now down to 10th, almost outside the top 10. This 24 is really struggling after having a really good progress in stage number 2. He has lost all of that, and then some more to begin stage 3.
Really leaning on the 22 right there as he's looking to the inside on the exit of turn 2. This is for that 10th position. Byron trying to just re-enter that top 10 to keep his championship hopes alive. It's going to have to wait for now as we continue to look back up in the picture of the Final 4 battle for the actual championship as Byron tries to make up that ground. It's Chastain about 2.5 tenths in front of that 9 of Elliott. I mean, Jay, we watched the 9 car march his way from P7 to P2, but now, once again, just like we've seen all day long, that 1 car is just kind of able to maintain control of this lead position.
Took a handful of laps for Chase Elliott to march his way right back up to 2nd place once again, and now they're both pulling away from Kyle Larson ever so slightly as the 9 and the 1 stay pretty much even with each other. But Gary, again, like you mentioned, I think it's going to be super hard for Chase Elliott to get around Ross Chastain. He might even have the best car in the field right now, but of course we've seen it so hard to pass. The leader Chastain has done a really nice job. Every time he's come under fire, he has held it off. He has run the right line. So Ross Chastain right now, even though he might not have a better car than Chase Elliott, he's doing everything he needs to needs to do to maintain that gap to that 9 car. And also, just as I say that, Larson now back up to the 9 car. He was like half a second back a lap ago, and now he's right on his bumper.
He wants to get involved still, as Larson, of course, looking for his second championship, just like the 9 car of Chase Elliott. Chastain looking for his first, and Elliott has come under fire here as they go down into turn 3. Larson just a few feet behind that number 9's bumper as they exit turn 4. Does Larson still have a little bit in him? We saw him fade in the long run in stage 2. They made maybe adjustments today to kind of get that car to kick in on the long run compared to the short run instead this time.
And Larson right now is putting some big-time pressure on his teammate of Chase Elliott as they both try and run down and keep pace with Ross Chastain, who pulls a little bit from Chase Elliott as Elliott now has to watch his mirror and know where Kyle Larson is running. Further back, William Byron not making any progress. Gary is still stuck right there on the bumper of the 22 and the 20 as they fight side by side. This 24 has at least stopped the bleeding, but he has not made any progress back towards the front as laps are clicking off pretty quickly here.
We got problems. 34 pulls down to the inside. They're off track into turn number 1. If he stops, that's going to bring out a caution. Will he roll back around to the pit lane? He's just got to make it a little bit further. Will he actually get there? It looks like he is. Yes, he is. He's actually speeding up now, so I don't quite know what's going on there. But McDowell makes it. And now, Jay, that 5 looking to the inside into turn 1 on the 9.
Kyle Larson once again getting the long run speed here on his teammate of Chase Elliott, but Elliott on the outside should be able to hold this off if that speed is still there for him, and it is a good run for the 9 of Elliott down the back straightaway. There you see the 34 McDowell getting to the pit lane. We are good there, and Larson, Gary, for a moment had to fight up the inside, but the outside was way too strong for Elliott. He gets clear again for second place.
Larson just can't quite make it happen yet as they cut that dog leg there. Alex Spellman's been fading backwards. These two back here are still going at it. Byron actually now pushing that 20 past the 22, and this will allow Byron to at least move into the 11th position as up ahead. Denny Hamlin's been marching his way forward, and he's right now on the inside of Harvick in his final stage of Cup Series racing before he moves into the Fox booth going into 2024. Proper send-off for Kevin Harvick this year. Jay had a heck of a season in NR2003. Unfortunately, no wins in real life, but more focus on this. Larson again going for the move, and this time he's a little bit further ahead down the back.
And Chase Elliott, though, has a good run once again, using the outside to his advantage. But Larson is much closer this time. They're even heading into 3. Larson sends it in. Chase Elliott gets a run on the outside. They are still side by side out of the exit of turn 4, across the line, down the dog leg. These two are fighting extremely hard for that second place, Gary. And Chastain is now gaining that gap a little bit each time these two stay too wide.
And clear is the 5 of Kyle Larson. Honestly, didn't expect this. That 5 fell off so hard in stage 2 compared to that 9. Well, we see the opposite this time. And as well, one thing that could make things interesting, that 34 is back on track with fresh tires. He's going to be picking off cars that are not for position, but I'm curious to see if he can get up to these front runners and kind of spice things up there, get in their way a little bit now as Larson takes second place. Now I think this will be his first clean lap of not battling. Jay, we see the gap just over 0.6 of a second. This is going to be a crucial lap right here, a crucial lap or 2 for the 5, and seeing if he actually has some speed to go and chase after this number 1.
Chase Elliott has caught up a little bit from Kyle Larson. He lost a bit of time when he got past, but he has been able to use this lap to gain some of that time back. And Larson, as they cross the line, the time changes down by 1/10. So Larson did gain 1/10 that time on Ross Chastain. But it's not so much catching him, Gary. It's going to be, can Kyle Larson pass Ross Chastain? We've seen the 5 and the 9 both be able to stay with that 1, but neither one has really gotten close to passing the 1 car.
Byron just has nothing here. In stage 3, continues to run 11th, and he's losing time. Hamlin's looking for a pass on Kyle Busch as they cross the line. Visually, you can see that 5 has gained. Now 0.2 of a second that lap.
Time.
I mean, Jay, there's gains there, but I mean, as you literally just mentioned, we've seen this happen multiple times. Look at how much he closes in on him. That 5 car,
huge run.
I think he might have something here.
He was able to send it into turn 2 right there and made a really good launch into that corner and got up on the bumper of Chastain. Couldn't keep that momentum on the exit, though, but he is certainly there, Gary. I mean, he is all over the bumper, putting the pressure on Ross Chastain. He probably the most pressure we've seen Chastain have in the past 20 or 30 laps of this race. So Chastain now just going to have to not make a mistake, and I'm not sure if this 5 is going to have enough to get around him, but he's certainly going to try. He's using the apron to his advantage. Not enough, but he is at least there.
Chastain Chastain's getting a bit defensive now as well. That's the first time he's felt pressure all day long, I think. As we as well wonder, will we see green flag pit stops or will we see a caution come out? We haven't really gotten a lot of green flag pit stops this season, but it would really be interesting to see some strategy play out and what the final four do. Larson is close, but still not quite able to make a move yet. But Jay, again, I mean, he's just able to get a lot closer than anybody has been able to. But right there, that one car still comfortably stays ahead.
Nah, a little bit of a slip up that time for Larson. He had to catch it on the exit of 2 and lost a bit of momentum down the back as they're still battling hard back here on the backside of the top 10. Of course, the 34 McDowell has fresh tires from going into the pit lane, so he's going to make things a little bit harder on those guys around him as he's trying to work his way through the field a couple of laps down. But this 5 of Larson, Gary, really strong the last few laps. Again, a good run into turn number 2, but on the exit loses the momentum as he sends it so hard into turn number 1. And this 5 car, really good right now. Might be better than Chastain, but still not able to find a way around that 1 car. Chastain doing everything he needs to do to defend that lead.
Byron's going to re-enter the top 10. Now, I mean, Jay, if we do see green flag pit stops, we have a little bit over 30 laps of racing to go. You would have to look at that 24 car, might be looking at a desperation call of either, extending the run as far as possible or, of course, pitting significantly earlier than anybody else here.
If I'm Byron, you got nothing else to lose. If you pit early and the caution comes out and you get screwed, well, you were screwed already as it is anyways. You're just now barely hanging on to the top 10. So if I'm Byron, as soon as we hit 25 to go, get to that pit lane. A bit over 25 laps is when we saw the drivers really start to have their long run fall off. So if I'm Byron, you get to 25 to go, hit the pit lane, get those fresh tires, and see how much time you can gain before those drivers in front of you decide to pit.
And I think that 34 might even be a good example of what's capable with these tires. Of course, 34 nowhere near as fast as these cars here in terms of raw speed, and he has been marching his way forward now as Larson continues to stalk that number 1 of Ross Chastain. Can he do anything? Once again, he closes up through 1 and 2, but if Chastain's not making a bit of a slip up, which he maybe a bit of a wobble right there, and now, I mean, Jay's right there, but as well, I mean, the 9 car of Chase Elliott's right here in the mix now, showcasing maybe the 1 car is slower than both of these Hendrick cars.
They both slipped up a little bit in turn 2, and now Chase Elliott has entered the picture because of that. Now it is top 3 right there all together, nose to tail, as they are pulling away from the rest of the field. Bowman and the rest are back there almost 3 seconds back of this top 3 fight, as the 9, the 1, and the 5 have been so close all race long. Byron's still under pressure from the 10. Now he almost made contact with him as well. Cindric almost got into him. I think I said under pressure from the 10, but to say under pressure from the 2 for that 10th position. But still, the top 3, Gary, they are so close together. I don't know who has the best car right now, but of course, Chastain, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter when he's defending so well, and nobody's even gotten close to passing him.
We got some racing happening right here, though, for about 30th place, I reckon, as the 14 car. Where is the 14 car score? 22nd, actually. Give them credit there. This is up towards almost the top 20 that they're fighting for as they cross the stripe into towards turn number 1. Carson Hocevar in that number 42 car. Certainly nothing eventful from him this weekend. They cross the stripe. The gap 0.2 of a second between Chastain as well as Larson in the background. We see that 34. He is closing in on them. A lap down, of course, now, but Elliott actually washes up right there. But, I mean, Jay, if you're a Larson, you're a Chase Elliott, you think you have more speed, why not pit a lap or so earlier than that 1 car, come in, get those tires, and take that 1 lap advantage, and that might be enough to win one of them the championship here today.
I mean, I've seen no other evidence of being able to pass Chastain.
Does Chastain have an
aside
issue?
From right there, Chastain a little bit slow right there. Larson with a good run on the outside, but not able to get to Chastain. So even if Chastain was a little bit slow, Gary, it doesn't matter because he still retains the lead. Larson not able to even get up the inside or the outside of the 1.
I thought we were about to see an issue again for the 3rd week in a row right there. That Chastain checks up
a little bit.
He's struggling compared to what he has been all race long. It's certainly clear the 1 car doesn't have the same oomph that he had in the first 2 stages, but there's still enough to just defend and keep that 5 car and that 9 car back. And now he goes up the track, and Jay, here comes Chase Elliott.
If Larson could have held on a little bit there and better on the entry of 1, he could have maybe gotten a run on the outside because that outside is good, but not able to do so. And now under fire from his teammate of Chase Elliott, Larson had a little bit of a wiggle there, Gary, and now that puts him under fire from the 9. So when he had a moment to jump on Chastain, he couldn't take it, and now Elliott's jumping all over him.
And Kyle Larson being jumped by Chase Elliott as they go down into turn 1. Larson is once again just all over the back. I mean, look at how close he is able to get. Does he have a run this time down the back? About half a car length still. Just not quite enough. You have to wonder, what's the pit stop strategy going to be? Larson again up the track, opening the door for that 9 car. It's really interesting, Jay, how the 9 slides on the exit of 4, but we have these 3 drivers going for a championship, separated by half a second, but yet no one can really seem to do anything with one another.
I think it's pretty clear right now that Larson and Elliott are both better than Ross Chastain, but it's just so hard to pass the leader, and Chastain's also doing such a fantastic job of defending. Anytime they get close, he'll check them up into a corner, he'll run their lane, force them into a mistake to where Chastain has just been able to retain the lead the entire time. But the biggest thing to watch for, Gary, is when they pit. If I'm the 5 or the 9, I pit this time. I would make sure you're in the pit lane.
They can make it from here.
Car. Do not give him a chance to pit before you. You get to that pit lane before Chastain, and that'll be the way you win this race.
Absolutely. I think if the 1 car pits first, unless we see, a caution come out in the pit cycle, which has happened the last time we had green flag pit stops was Las Vegas, and we saw, of course, what happened there with Kyle Larson, and that we thought he was not even going to make the Final 4. Then he showed up to Martinsville and dominated it, of course, and picked up another win on the season. McDowell is here to really make things interesting here for these Final 4. It's going to throw a bit of a curveball at him, and Jay, he's wasting no time. He doesn't care they're fighting for a championship. He's got a huge pace advantage.
And you can see McDowell, Gary, I mean, he's been on these tires now for 10 or 15 laps, and he's still quicker than the guys in front of him. So that new tire advantage is going to play an effect for anybody who goes into the pit lane a lap or 2, or if you're somebody like Byron, pit now, go in several laps before the driver's in front of them. If I'm Byron, I would have been in the pit lane 5 laps ago. I'm not sure why he has not pitted yet. You've got to try something. You're going for a championship. You're stuck down in 10th place, almost 7 seconds behind the leaders. Get to the pit lane, get some fresh tires on, and see what you can do.
You can't get much closer than this. Look at the 34 in that frame right there. Just how much more stopping power. Yeah, well, Larson's way up the track. That's going to make it easy for the 34.
Big mistake.
Oh, never mind. But yeah, that gap opens up, and the 34 was able to close in, but he had to check up to make sure he didn't get into the door of the 5. And even after all that, Jay Larson had so much momentum down the straightaway. He cuts the gap to just a few car lengths again through 1 and 2, but he's about to be under fire here from McDowell.
Yeah, gonna have to a moment here. Letting the lap car by as a couple of cars hit the pit lane. Those are back markers, though. Now here comes Bowman, a couple of top 10 runners into the pit lane. Most of the top 10 now pitting behind our leaders. The 24 of Byron, though, I believe he still stayed out. So we still have our... Actually, maybe he might have pitted. I didn't see when he ran through the field right there.
Neither did I.
Maybe on the pit lane, not sure. We'll have to wait and see on that, but we'll have to wait and see if our top 3 decide to pit here as well. It looks like Chastain might be pitting. If he is... Oh,
Game
boy,
over.
That's a mistake for the 5 and the 9.
Game over, in my opinion, for the 5 and the 9, unless they're banking on, hey, we can't pass them, so let's just try and get fresher tires.
24
you
is
have to
pitting
wonder.
now.
Yes, there's Byron now, so he did, in fact, not pit, but I think the 5 and the 9 have made some big mistakes here, and as well, Jay, they're under pressure from this 34. That 5 car, the 9, they got to look at pitting this lap.
They should have pitted multiple laps ago. They did not. Now Ross Chastain gets in the pit lane before them. I think Larson's pitting this time. Chase Elliott is going to follow him as well, but it's a lap too late, I think, Gary.
And let's take a look at where that 1 car is. These guys are all exiting Chastain. Now, one thing is, Chastain, you just saw it there, he was checking up for some traffic, but as well, the 5 and the 9, well, they have to do the same thing. It's such a long pit lane here in Phoenix. Let's see, that could be something that maybe gives them a little bit of hope, and so far, Jay, these guys have a perfectly clear path into their pit boxes.
Yeah, so far, nothing in their way. Chastain might have had a little bit of a checkup, but I'm not sure if it was enough to slow them down, or to slow him down for the 9 and the 5 to not be at a disadvantage
slow there.
Getting 1 lap later. The 5 and the 9 are going to need to have perfect pit stops here, as well as the one of Chastain is already out on the racetrack. He is down to back straightaway. Looks like
I think he lost some time though. Look how close the 48 is to him as they go down through 3 and 4. So I'm curious to see. There's the 5 now. Chastain is in the dog leg
again.
This is going to be close as they head down into turn 1. Jay, I think Larson and Chastain, they might even be side by side on the exit of turn 2.
I don't know how in the world Kyle Larson pulled this off, but he pits 1 lap later. He is in the lead from Ross Chastain. Chase Elliott again with another Hendrick Motorsports pit stop. Loses time, now loses 2 spots as well to the 48 and the 20, but it's all on now between the 5 and the 1, Gary, for the first time today. The lead has exchanged hands, but look at Chastain. He's all over the bumper of Larson. Now Larson's going to have to defend like Chastain was earlier in the race.
We saw that 1 car take off on the short run, but as well, his tires are warmed up compared to Larson's, who was going to need another lap or or so before his really rolling lap. Traffic could play a role as well. I see them down the back straight away into turn 3. Larson, a car length on this one into the corner. What is this one car capable of doing? I mean, unless they made the right adjustments, Jay, what we saw there in that, first run of this stage, I think that one car needs to pounce now. Other than that, I think the 5 car is going to have the ability to drive away in about 10 laps or so.
Oh boy, so close to Chastain making contact with Larson. He slides up the track a little bit to keep from doing that, and that gives a little bit of separation between those two, so the 5 can breathe for just a moment. But Gary, look at the leaderboard. William Byron is now under 4 seconds to our leader. He only had a 1-lap advantage. If he had pitted 3 or 4 laps beforehand, he could be right here with these leaders. That was such a mistake by the 24 to wait that late to pit. Of course, the 1-lap advantage sure helped, but he should have gotten into the pit lane multiple laps beforehand, and he could be in this championship fight.
Got a car blowing up here in the pit lane as Larson is still under a lot of pressure from this one car of Chastain. It's not very often we get to see a final stage just kind of play out here in NR2003. There is still time. Similar to Phoenix earlier in the season, it just kind of went green right to the literal end when the 2 car just decided he was going to barrel off into the barrels. Larson went defensive there, Jay. Chastain is still hounding on the back of this number 5. Not going to make this easy for Larson.
Well, Chastain, I thought for a moment, was going to slide up into the outside wall, and they almost did the same thing last lap, too. Both of them almost got into the outside wall the last time around, so these two are pushing themselves to the absolute limit. They are catching up on lap traffic as well, so that'll be interesting to watch them get through that lap traffic as they are nose to tail right now, Gary. The 1 is not letting Larson pull away at all. He's putting on every single bit of pressure as he can, as Chase Elliott in the background is still stuck behind the 48 and the 20, so the 9 car right now is going to guarantee need a caution to get back into this thing.
He nearly got one by turning the 20 as they head down into turn number 3. Larson, this is the largest gap he's had so far. I said Chastain needed to make that move. Otherwise, I think the 5 really just has the raw ability to drive away. It was pretty evident Chastain didn't have the fastest car of the 3 that were fighting there. Larson up a groove there. In the background, here comes Chase Elliott. I mean, even though, Jay, if Chase Elliott can get past these 2 cars, never say never with the lap traffic, but it is going to be a very large task for that 9 car to get up there.
Oh, I thought for a moment he was going to plow through his teammate at Bowman, but of course Bowman, I think, is going to maybe race him a little bit easier. We saw him do that earlier with Chase Elliott. Might do it again here because he knows obviously his teammate is in a championship battle and is having that time wind down very, very quickly. But 2.3 seconds from the leader back to Chase Elliott is going to be rough for this 9 car to hold or to chase down those guys in front of him. But of course, if that 9 car has the speed that we saw earlier in this race, Gary, earlier in stage 3, he could certainly do it, but passing him is certainly going to be hard.
I don't know if I even want to see a caution right now. We got lap traffic that's going to play a role. We got the 1 hounding the 9. We got the 9 who's clear and now free to try and chase these guys down. It's kind of naturally just turning into a very interesting Final 4 race.
He gained a 10th, Chase Elliott did.
He gained some time right there. And he's going to have at least 1, 2, maybe 3 lap cars that are going to play a role. Jay, we haven't seen this yet. Chastain got there, runs a bit wide, but how do the leaders deal with this lap traffic? We've seen the passing on the inside be difficult, so this is really going to be interesting.
They're going to have at least 2 cars to get through as the 51, and I think that was the 31 of Justin Haley up there are going to be certainly in the way, maybe even the 16 as well, so both colleague cars having issues today here in Phoenix, but it's going to be interesting to watch Chase Elliott run them down as well. He gained almost 2.5 tenths that last lap, Gary, and that's without them running into lap traffic.
1.96 last lap. Let's watch it this time, crossing the stripe. Let's see what Elliott can do. 1.96 now, 1.76, 0.2 of a second gain. Larson immediately sends it up the inside. That was bold. He knows what's at task.
No time.
And it hurts the 1 of Chastain on the exit of turn 2.
Oh, no. Chastain almost turned the 51, but he is able to at least get to the inside of him down the back straightaway as he's still to the inside, though. The 51 not letting Chastain go. This is the biggest gap we've seen Larson have over Chastain, and now Chase Elliott's certainly going to be closer as they cross the line. This time it was 1.76. They cross the line.
Wow.
Did
he run a bad corner?
He lost 2 tenths almost, so never mind. Chase Elliott struggled that last lap, and that might have been just enough to seal the deal because now Chase Elliott has also got to get around the 51.
Yeah, Elliott's going to have to hope that that 31 causes a bit of controversy here, and if not, that 16 is going to be a last resort because I think that's as far as Larson's going to get. Chastain, of course, hoping for the exact same. Let's see, Jay. Larson's catching that 31 a little bit further back compared to the 51 as he's going to go into the corner, and certainly way different than last time, though.
Contact! certain contact. He's trying to get past this lap car. He knows he does not want to see Chastain get close. They're still side by side. Haley is fighting as hard as he can, but Larson got the pass done. Elliott's blowing up. Chase Elliott is blowing up.
Elliott blows up in front of traffic. The caution's gonna fly. Oh my goodness, the Final Four dream for Elliott ends, and it's gonna be Larson Chastain, and it's gonna be a late race restart. We are praying that they don't crash, because we cannot have overtime, because every time we try to turn it on, it crashes the game. So that's gonna make things interesting there. Goodness gracious, this could be interesting in itself. Is the pace car gonna speed up and pass that number 5? Looks like they're going to try and get it sorted out right here. Yes, they will. Wow, Jay, the 9 was making headway, and the engine fails in the last 10 laps. Absolute heartbreak for that number 9.
You can tell Chase Elliott was pushing that car as hard as he could, giving it everything he had. But unfortunately for Chase Elliott and for one of our Championship 4 contenders, his engine expires on lap 86 of 94 here in Phoenix, or whatever lap of 125. So Chase Elliott, Gary, his day is over.
All right, let's start it down the back straightaway here. 3, 2. There is no way.
You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me.
So after multiple attempts, it's going to be a 6-lap dash to get to where we need to be. Larson, Chastain identical to where they were running. Byron a few rows back from where he would have been after another game crash. It's going to be 6 laps to determine a champion here from Phoenix Raceway. Chastain in the preferred lane for the double file restart. Jay, can he get the advantage and win this championship? He's already just about clear into the start-finish line. So now Larson is going to have to find a way.
A beautiful launch from Ross Chastain, but Larson for a moment fought back to the inside, but it didn't matter because Chastain still kept up the momentum and keeps the lead into turn number 1 and number 2. Kyle Busch slides up pretty wide contact behind him. Larson with a huge run to the inside of Chastain. They are side by side for the lead.
What a move from the number 5 of Kyle Larson. Is it a championship winning move? That's the question to be answered. Through 3 and 4, Chastain hangs on the top. Byron in the background, desperation mode for him. Of course, he's just not close enough. These two continue side by side. 5 laps to go into turn 1. Jay, they both are dead even.
Dead even still, but for the lead between Larson and Chastain. Larson gets the advantage on the inside, though. Gets past Ross Chastain, slides up, closes the door. Has it done, Gary. To the lead, Kyle Larson.
Kyle Busch in 3rd, Bell 4th, Blaney down to 5th, and Stenhouse even in the top 10. Can Harvick get a top 10 in his final ever race in the Cup Series? Byron as well into
Byron's
the top
going
10.
forward.
He's moving forward, but obviously just not going to be enough time there. It's going to be down between these two drivers. Jay, who's going to slip up? That 5 washes up the track on the exit of the corner.
That's good momentum for him, though. He's going to pull out that lead a little bit more on Ross Chastain, but the 1 car fights back well. He may not have even got an advantage at all to either driver right there. The 5 and the 1 stay relatively close. Larson slips up again. Chastain is seeing that 5 car slide up the track a little bit. He knows Larson is pushing as hard as he can. Chastain pushing as hard as he can. The 1 does not want to see that 5 get any further away.
And a caution now will end the race. We have not been able to get overtime to work without the game crashing, so Larson, I'm sure, would not even complain.
Moving.
He is. Look at the speed. What could have been for William Byron coming to 2 laps to go on this championship, and Jay Larson is pulling away.
Larson is now starting to haul the mail away from Ross Chastain. 2 to go in this 2023 season. Chastain now under a little bit of fire from Kyle Busch. Byron is clear, almost up into the top 5. If the 24 had a few more laps, Gary, I would say he could be in contention for this thing, but just going to be way too few laps for that 24.
Down the back straightaway, a lap and a half to go, and you see Chastain trying to find something, but it's not looking like it's going to be enough as they exit turn 4. Jay, 1 lap to go. Kyle Larson just needs to put a few corners together, and this is going to be all him. The caution is out at the line, but they take the white flag, and it's in the back. The 10 and the 3 of Austin Dillon have crashed at the start of the final lap. That's going to end it right there. Kyle Larson is going to be our 2023 NASCAR Cup Series champion here in NR2003. Did they crash before the final lap or not? That's the question. I don't even know. It looked very close.
They did.
But wow, that's going to end it, Jay. Kyle Larson, well, he was going to lead the final lap anyways, but it just makes it a little bit of a slower pace for him. Through 3 and 4, it's going to be another win, and he's going to win the last 2 races of the season to cap off this incredible season for the 5 team.
A great restart battle between Kyle Larson and Ross Chastain, but as they come across the start-finish line, Kyle Larson is officially your 2023 NASCAR champion, with Ross Chastain finishing right behind him, William Byron finishing in 6th place, what could have been for that 24 car, and unfortunately for Chase Elliott, he is out of the race with an expired engine with about 10 laps to go.
Chase Elliott, what could have been? We saw him closing in on the 2 cars in front of him until that engine failed. Chastain got the lead on the restart. Larson with an unbelievable send into the corner, got him back alongside the 1 car, and that made the difference there. Whoever was really clear on the exit of that first lap was going to win, in my opinion. If the 1 car would have been able to pull it off, it would have been his championship. But it wasn't quite enough for that one of Ross Chastain. Kyle Larson is a 2-time NASCAR Cup Series champion. What a season it has been. Of course, that wraps up Jay and I on NR2003. Like we said at the beginning, currently no plans to bring back the series for next year, but Kyle Larson wraps up an incredible season. And Jay, do you have any memories of maybe your favorite moment of the NR2003 series that we did over the 3 years?
I think one of my favorite moments was certainly earlier this year at Phoenix, where we were right at the end of the race. Everybody is trying to pit because they had to do green flag pit stops right at the end, and Austin Cindric was a bit of a Dumbo and drove himself into the pit wall, and then we also saw the pace car drive itself into the pit wall one time here at Phoenix as well. So I don't know what it is about Phoenix, but we always saw something dumb, something stupid happen here. Of course, there was also the moment at Richmond, I think in season 1, where it was Larson coming out of the pit lane. He was leading the race. A driver was coming into the pit lane as he was leaving. They collided. Larson went flipping down the back straightaway. So we saw lots of dumb moments like that over the 3 years of this series. And I think it's a good way to go with Kyle Larson winning the championship, Gary, because I think we might see that coincide to real life tomorrow as well. So many times we've seen our series predict things happening in real life. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that our race here just predicted that again as well for real life.
And we'll see what happens tomorrow. I'd say my favorite moment was from the first season, and that was when Kevin Harvick was dominating that Las Vegas race, and then he got wrecked by a lap car of Quinn Half out of turn 4 in the final stage. He just wiped him right out and ended his day and caused a major accident. I think what we'll do, what I'll try to do is sometime in the coming weeks as well, maybe do a compilation of, from the 3 seasons, the best and stupidest moments of our NR series, because over the 3 years there was a lot of them. But that's going to wrap it up for Jay and myself. Larson is a champion again, and we appreciate you all watching and supporting this series for the 3 seasons that we did it. Will it come back? Maybe one day. Very unlikely, as it seems like NR2003 truly has finally run its course here. We will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.